Three, two, one, go.
And welcome into PressBox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. And with us is my co-host, Gary Stein. Gary, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Stanley. How about yourself, bud?
I'm doing great. Orioles
Good.
won, so I'm very excited. I'm also excited to have our guest on, and we're going to have that smiling face on Ahmed Ghafir from inside the blackandgold.net in just a moment, but I got to tell you who brings us the show. In addition to the Costas Inn, who brings you all of our Zooms, we're also brought to you by AJ Michaels, expert and award-winning AJ Michaels heating, AC, plumbing, and home performance will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is here. New rebates and discounts are available more at ajmichaels.com. And one other thing, just an aside for now, but I'll talk a little bit about it. You know, now my screen name up here is Maryland Superbook Stan Charles 23. Keep that in your mind if you want to sign up as one of my the influenced people that joined Superbook. Use that code Stan Charles 23, and you can get up to $250 in bonus bets. We'll talk more about how that works and why Gary Stein's going to sign up and use that Stan Charles 23. I don't know if Ahmed's going to do it. I don't know if Ahmed's going to do it.
I will definitely.
We'll try and talk him into it. Ahmed, we had you on last year. We just bumped into you the other night, and it worked out that you were available tonight. And we were down at Mike Loxley's media barbecue. First of all, your thoughts on how Loxley handles the media. I thought that would be a good way to start.
Yeah, I think Loxley, he's very, he's smart. He knows, just the how to win over the area and how to, ensure that there's good buzz. He makes sure that, there's, that there's an ability to, get the information, whether from, press conferences and just kind of being around the program and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, I think he had said it, or one of the assistants said it, it's very uncommon for a head coach to open up their home, specifically their home for media. And we're going on 4 or 5 years straight now. So definitely appreciative and a welcomed addition, and especially considering the last two, Dirk and Edsel, which are very, very much the opposite.
And Gary, Mike and Kia, his wife, they also let us use their bathroom in the house. It's just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
The house is beautiful.
Hey, tell us a little bit, our viewers that are watching this that may not know about Inside the blackandgold.net, exactly what it is, how long you've been around, and tell us a little bit about it, how they can subscribe to it, and what kind of information they're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Been in business for as an independent website for about 2 years now. Cover University of Maryland athletics, whether it's football, basketball. We delve into recruiting all year round on both fronts. Definitely on the football side, where we're doing a great job of just keeping up with the flurry of commitments and whatnot. And then, we hit on the non-revenue stuff as well, make sure that there's coverage as well. But we do a great job of just being able to kind of provide additional insight, background information, just kind of what's going on and maybe the whys as to why things are happening. So yeah, you can definitely make sure you're tuned in at InsideTheBlackandGold.net, especially with football camp media day in the books, with football practice now in full swing. We have plenty of intel, feedback of just kind of how practices are going. So $8 a month, $80 for a year. And if you use the promo code TERPS23, you'll be able to use a 50% off. So definitely the time of year to be signing up.
That 23 number is a very good number.
It's a popular number.
Terps 23.
Name of the night.
We'll talk more in just a minute. I want Gary to throw in a couple questions because I know he's chomping at the bit.
Here we go. So let's talk a little football. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? Terps 23 football season. I think the opener is September 2nd against Towson. They started their practice already. You and I were at the media day. We heard from Loxley. We heard from Josh Gaddis, the new offensive coordinator, and Brian Robinson, the defensive coordinator. Just give me your overall impression of where Maryland is in the fifth season now under Mike Locksley?
Yeah, I think you have to start out from just a locker room perspective, and I was talking with Varun Schachner earlier today on a Twitter space, just talking really about what Loxley talks about, what the players talk about. You hear the term player-driven culture a lot. I think that gets thrown around a lot, and a lot of people might chalk it up to maybe coach speak, but you definitely see kind of that feedback and the players who are now veterans who are now stepping into those leadership role. You see the players in numbers just continuously rising in terms of players staying after practice, getting additional work on off days, making sure that they're good, working on the playbook. So the team chemistry is there. So you talk about consistency, stability, and I think any Maryland fan before Mike Locksley came, you would have said, hey, the number one thing I want is stability at quarterback. So you have Talia. I mean, there's a lot of pieces to like. There's a lot of consistency on the coaching staff. And then where there's inconsistency with new faces, obviously Kevin Sumlin, Josh Gaddis, there's chemistry there between Locksley. So I think there's a lot to like. And I think fall camp, you kind of iron things out. But I think I understand why Locksley and the players have doubled down on it, but they've all said, hey, it's championship mode time. And it's not to say, hey, we're going to win the Big Ten, but it's saying, hey, we're at that point as a program, as, a talent level that, when they say, hey, we were 9 plays away from beating the Ohio States, the Michigan, and the Penn States last year, you take an off season and look in the mirror and say, all right, we're ready to do this thing.
So as my good friend Scott McBrien used to say, if you got a good quarterback, you got a good team. And I think that's true, especially with Maryland. But before we get to the players, I want to talk about the coaching staff. There's been a good turnover. And when I mean good, when I say good, I mean like to the upside, I think. New offensive coordinator Josh Gaddis, assistant head coach, co-offensive coordinator Kevin Sumlin has a terrific resume in the college game over 30 years. What does that say about the Maryland program? And you talk about the habits and, the consistency that they're looking for. I think these two guys were terrific gets. So talk a little bit about the coaching staff and what they bring this year.
And I would even throw in Latrell Scott, and the reason why
they're running back
Latrell Scott as well, because you look at Scott, you look at Kevin Sumlin. Those are two guys that had head coaching experience. And 2 years ago, when Ron Zook was here, I know a lot of fans said, maybe his units were underperforming, but behind the scenes, Ron Zook, that experience and just the experience as a head coach, experience coaching college football, that helped a ton behind the scenes, just from an organizational and a planning perspective during the season. So when you're able to, like I said, you have those relationships where Locksley and Gaddis, they have that familiarity. Sumlin comes in with decades of experience. So I think that there's reason why a lot of these pieces can work. And then Latrell Scott, obviously, he's another who's had multiple stops as a head coach, is very familiar with the DMV footprint. And, you mentioned that inside the Black and Gold, we cover recruiting. So for recruiting, you think about Virginia, Latrell Scott has made Maryland a factor in Virginia there. But yeah, when you think about just the chemistry and whatnot, how they all work together, I think the offensive side, I think there's reason to be optimistic that you're kind of able to see some consistency there, maybe some more explosive plays, which is what they want on offense under Gaddis. Defense side of the ball, they return everyone. Obviously, Wes Neighbors was the only one that left, and Zach Spavital, who joins the program, former D coordinator over at Texas State. He's really experienced. His brother was also a heck of an offensive coordinator, Jake Spavital. But Brian Williams, this is his 5th season at the program. Henry Baker, this is his 3rd season with the program. James Thomas, he's been with the program as an assistant for 2 years, but with the program for 3. So again, a lot of these guys, the culture, the mindset, what the focus is like, it kind of comes down from the coaches, from that consistency and just that chemistry between them.
I'm going to stick with the coaching because I want to ask you a question, an honest to God question about Mike Locksley. And when you look at the history of college football, whether it's Barry Switzer when he was at Oklahoma or Nick Saban now, or some of the other great coaches around the country, we don't ask if they're great game coaches at the college level. It's mostly about how they run their program and the talent they bring in. Is Mike Locksley a good game coach? Do we know that yet, Ahmed?
Yeah, I think that there is Yeah, I think he has that chance where he is a good coach. I think obviously I think some things, like clock management. I think a couple times, especially at the end of the first half. I think there were a couple series through the last couple of years, through the last 4 years, where Loxley probably want to take that back. But yeah, I do think so from an in-game perspective. And I think also, you look at maybe what the defense was able to do last season in terms of their first, second half adjustments. I mean, Brown finished second in the country in points allowed per game in scoring defense. So yeah, I think offensively, I think that he's been able to kind of find some success. I think last year, I think there were just some inconsistencies there, just with the inability to kind of maybe execute the big plays through the air.
One of the things about him that is impressive to me is that he had a veteran like Ron Zook there, and now he's got somebody like Josh Gaddis and Kevin Sumlin. That says to me he's pretty comfortable in his own skin, and he knows what he needs to have around him to be better. Does that make sense to you, Ahmed?
Yeah, I mean, for a lack of a better term, I mean, Loxley doesn't bullshit. Like, he knows exactly what this program needs, what it wants.
Right.
He, like, even times when it's obvious like what the weaknesses are, he's transparent about, hey, like, we're gonna get X, Y, and Z done. He talked about the portal, just getting the offensive line together and whatnot. So yeah, I think that definitely helps.
Gary, go ahead.
Let me stay with Sumlin and Gaddis for just a minute, and then I want to talk about the defense and talk about something that you were just talking about. Do you think that Tunga Vailoa was a big reason why Gaddis came here, number one? And number two, why would Kevin Sumlin come here after 30 years as a head coach?
I think Tagovailoa's presence, and I think just being able to work with a young quarterback, an experienced quarterback, was something that was attractive. But I also think something, Gaddis, he 2 years ago won the Burroughs Award, and I think I had heard that, actually from coaches just within the college football landscape, that he had really decided to leave Michigan because he kind of felt that, hey, I'm not really getting my respect here. I went to Miami and things didn't go right. And I think, part of that is also just kind of Miami's scheme. So I think this is just kind of also just a chance to prove himself. And then, he'll be able to work with the quarterbacks a little bit. Obviously, Loxley will be very hands-on with the quarterbacks, with Talia back there. But it's kind of a chance especially for a guy like Loxley, who has that experience so maybe for Gaddis to kind of add to his skill set, his repertoire a little bit during his time in College Park. I think that helps. And then Kevin Sumlin, the relationship between Loxley and Sumlin goes way back. Obviously I think the stint at Arizona, I think that Sumlin, he was, he was available, and I think it was just kind of a great kind of fit. And I think their relationship was a big reason why Kevin Sumlin decided to go to College Park.
I just wanted to jump in and ask you about Sumlin. Is Sumlin a guy that'll be here 1 year and then he wants to get back, or could this be like a nice landing spot for him where he sort of plays out a few years here?
It's hard to say with 100% certainty. I mean, I think realistically, I'll say this, if Sumlin does end up leaving after this year, I could understand that. I could see why. But I think, for example, like Wes Neighbors last year, I heard really about 3 weeks before he left, he was really happy at Maryland, and I had it a pretty good authority that he was comfortable staying at Maryland for the next 3-4 years. And then Ole Miss came about. It was an opportunity to work with people that he worked with closely in the past, that he had a good relationship with, and it was just a great opportunity. So he took it. So you never know kind of what ends up happening. But yeah, I think, if Gaddis and Sumlin, I think if they're able to stay 2 years, maybe 3 years, I think that will create that stability. Not to drag too long, but Braid, he's mentioned a couple of times that, hey, this is my 4th season and I've had 4 safety coaches. And I think Loxley, I think what you kind of heard through the years is, I'm not going to fire somebody for absolutely no reason. Enos, for example, very likely would have come back had he not taken the Arkansas job. So, was Loxley going to fight it too much? I don't really think that would be the case, but you just never know how the coaching carousel works out.
Let me ask about the defense. You had mentioned earlier they made great strides last year, first half to second half adjustments. And they did. For the most part, the defense played very well last year. But if you go, Ahmed, inside the numbers a little bit, I see an issue. And the issue is this. They were 8-2 against teams other than Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. And they allowed about 19 points per game, which is an unbelievably low amount in college football. But if you take those 3 games against Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan, they were 0-3, and they allowed 36 points per game. So the question is, and the problem is, they got to play those teams in order to win the division. So where do they need to improve against those teams in order to cut that gap down?
Yeah, I think this year especially, I mean, obviously, I think it's just the heart of the Big Ten. What it does, it all starts in the trenches. And I think this is going to be a really interesting year. One, because I think Maryland's defensive line, they replaced 3 starters. Masai Nasili Kite, obviously he had a chance to come back, but Jordan Phillips, Tommy Akingbasote, Tyze Johnson, Quayshawn Fuller, Trey Colbert, like all these guys, they're kind of all stepping into newer roles. Some of them are just new additions. Some of them are just younger guys that are kind of, coming into year 3, year 4 with the program. And, now it's time. But you look on the flip side, I mean, Michigan, they won the best offensive line in the country award last year, and they returned a lot of experience. Penn State, Olu Fashanu, he returns, and he's probably going to be, if not the first offensive lineman taken, the second offensive lineman taken in next year's draft. So Maryland has talent. Jordan Phillips, I know I mentioned him, but he's going to be a real disruptor. And then you look at the linebackers. I think the linebackers are going to be the strength of that defense. I think there's a lot of ways that Maryland's defense can kind of get creative with some of their matchups, whether it's in a 3-4 or they move to the 3-3-5, which they've shown through conference play in the past. But it's going to be the trenches and then the depth. I think Dylan Fontes is a guy where you look at him, he got here in January, 6'4", added about 20 pounds. So he's got some good athleticism to him. And Loxley said, hey, he's going to be a guy where we have to expedite his maturation process a little bit because, one, we need to, and hey, guys, him and Jordan Phillips both got here in January. Both those guys are a little bit ahead. So I think there's a lot of unknowns in what Maryland can kind of do defensively. And you mentioned, what Maryland statistically did against Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan a year ago. And I'd be curious to see what the rushing yards per game was against those 3 teams, because they did get abused on the ground, and Wisconsin as well. So that they're going to be going against some really, really talented offensive line prospects, some really good offensive lines. I think I feel more confident, much more confident in Maryland's defensive line than I do the offensive line. But there's still a lot of questions there. So it's undoubtedly in their front 7 though.
Still more questions ahead for Ahmed Ghafir from the yellow and black inside the black and gold.net. Got to tell folks about why I've got up here on my screen, Maryland Superbook Stan Charles 23. Well, now is the time to place your baseball bets and your preseason football bets with Superbook Sports. Superbook is the most trusted name in Vegas, and now you can use promo code StanCharles23 to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they will match your first bet up to $250 with the promo code StanCharles23, all one word with no spaces, not case sensitive. Don't miss out this season with some money with Superbook Sports and promo code StanCharles23. We'll be talking about them all season long. Ahmed, I wanted to flip over. Well, actually, before I ask you, I'll flip over to basketball real quick, because you got an interesting story up on your site inside the black and gold.net about sort of a legacy Terp prospect that might be landing in College Park. The schedule this year, Maryland has 7 home games, 5 on the road. Now they've got that walkover win against Towson, we expect, on September 2nd. But then they've got Charlotte, Virginia, a trip to Michigan State, and Indiana at home. So 4 of the first 5 games are at home. What game is the trickiest game for you in that 5-game period?
Oh, I think it's at Michigan State, and I've had this discussion. I think Michigan State is probably the second most intriguing team behind Nebraska in the Big Ten this year. I think with Peyton Thorne leaving, Keon Coleman, those are. I mean, I think Peyton Thorne. I wouldn't necessarily say that he was one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten, but that was a returning guy. And then Keon Coleman, that was probably one of the better playmakers, if not in the top 5, top 10 in the Big Ten. So those are two really big pieces that are missing for them. Been a really hectic offseason for them. They have some pieces, but I just think that, it's a winnable game, but it's a road game. And Maryland historically hasn't always done its best. There's been a lot of games where you say, hey, if this game was in College Park, Maryland probably would have been able to pull this out. I think that week 4 matchup will kind of give us maybe the first test into just what can this Maryland team be this year. The execution, the poise, the maturity, just on the road. I think you really need that in the Big Ten, and I think that they have a real chance to start out 5-0 if they're able to beat Michigan State.
I had another game in mind. Gary, do you know which game I think is the trickiest game in here? With Maryland probably looking ahead to that Michigan State game.
Well, yeah,
I think Biff Poggi coming in there. I don't know what kind of talent level he has, but I'm guessing his talent level far exceeds how Maryland is thinking about them right now.
Well, if you're going to put that definition on what a tricky game is, yeah, I would say that's true. I mean, he's been, the St. Francis head coach and involved in that program for a long time. He knows probably some of the best recruits available in the country. I still think Maryland's overall talent is better than Charlotte.
I'm sure they are, but I called it a tricky game, not that they're a better team, but they just might be tricky because Biff Poggi is going to want to come into his home territory.
There's no doubt. Yeah, absolutely.
I will say that St. Francis, or excuse me, Poggi and Charlotte, they've done. It's ironic. I slipped up and said St. Francis because they've pretty much added half of the
St. Francis roster.
Yeah, from St. Francis, and then a lot of the guys that from Maryland that some of them played like Joey Burns. We got a chance to see him, but he's down at Charlotte. But I will say I've heard it multiple times from multiple coaches. There is a lot of smack talk coming out of Charlotte, talking about Maryland.
That's
not surprising. That's not surprising.
It is very much led by Biff Poggi. So, I think it's interesting. I mean, it's always been an interesting dynamic, but Mike Loxley's son, Kai, he played under Biff, at Gilman. Right. So
this will be the biggest game that Biff Poggi has coached since he left Gilman.
Yeah, I don't foresee Maryland taking their foot off the
all right, good. Hey, Gary may have another couple football questions before we let you go, but I wanted to ask you because you sent us the homepage of the site, and there's a story up there about a player that Maryland is recruiting right now, Jaden Mustaf. And I asked you last night when we were chatting, I said, that's got to be related to Jared Mustaf. And you told me it's his son. Yeah. That's hard to believe that he's got a son old enough to be playing college basketball.
Yeah,
Tell us about him and what the chances of Maryland landing him are.
Yeah, absolutely. He's he obviously set his commitment date yesterday for September 14th. He has Maryland in the top group, NC State, Indiana, Arkansas. All those are kind of the top teams for him right now. NC State.
He had Florida State. He also had Florida State.
Florida State was another one. Florida State, they posted him. I believe it was his junior year. He got to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was in that top group. Georgia Tech hosted him for an official visit. Indiana hosted him for an official visit. NC State hosted him. Right now, Maryland is scheduled to host him that actually the first weekend of September when Maryland kicks off the football season against Towson, excuse me. So we'll see. I mean, right now, Maryland's been doing a good job with him. Obviously, Mike Jones, the assistant that's leading there. There's an obvious connection just with Jaden, with beginning his high school basketball career at DeMatha, obviously under Mike Jones. So there's a connection there.
Okay.
So it just kind of remains to be seen. I think Maryland kind of needs to win over the family a little bit more, just kind of stay consistent with him. But they'll get the last crack at it. Whether he ends up coming remains to be seen, but the ascension has steadily grown since Mike Jones joined the program.
Is it a good sign if he actually shows up to make the visit? In other words, does that mean they're still in the hunt?
I would definitely expect him to follow through on that visit. The only thing that is maybe a little bit unclear at this time right now, I mean, just Maryland, with it being the only official, I think Arkansas, I know Dad was kind of contemplating taking another visit, but he also said, hey, we've been hitting the road since for nearly 2 years now. As a matter of fact, they visited Virginia Tech, I believe, 3 times. So Mike Jones is still there last year. So there's been plenty. So whether he ends up taking another one, whether that last official ends up being Arkansas, kind of remains to be seen. But I would definitely expect him on campus. I've heard he's been intrigued by the idea of coming home. Obviously, grew up in Bowie, so we'll see. Obviously, Maryland does not have a commitment in the 2024 class. I would say Maryland does have a chance, but will he land here? I have to wait another month to see.
And what type of player? He's 6'5". Is he a swing man?
Yeah, he's more of a combo guard. I'd say more of a 2 than a 1, but I think he's also expressed a little bit of desire to play on the ball a little bit.
Okay, Garrett, you finish up with a couple of questions.
Yeah, I'm going back to football. Are you concerned at all, Ahmed? The receiver core, they lost 3 to the NFL undrafted free agents. I'm talking about Bennett. I'm talking about Dante Demas, and the other one off the top of my head.
Copeland, yeah.
Right. Jones is back. They have 2 transfers, Tyrese Chambers, who's a local kid from Poly, Caden Prather, who played at West Virginia. Getting on the same page, Talia and the receivers. Any concern there at all?
No, I've actually consistently heard with the wide receivers, in Talia, Billy Edwards, Cam Edge, like I've heard they've all been very proactive really since January about getting in Jones Hill House, getting in extra work. A lot of the receivers, I know a couple local trainers that have been going up there and working a lot with the receivers at night, just extra work and things like that. Obviously, I think Deshaun Jones, I think he has a very established rapport with Talia. I think Caden, Tyrese, both of them are kind of benefiting from kind of being here in the spring. I personally, I don't have many concerns. Like I think this wide receiver room quietly could be better than last year's. I just think that there are so many different sets, whether it's a 3-4 wide receiver set, so many different pieces that complement each other that can really force defenses to play honest. I think this receiver room is going to be special. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe 2 or 3 of these guys end up on an NFL roster.
What's behind Talia? Tell us what Maryland has there.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested in. Yeah.
I mean, I think at this point you have a winner. You have a leader in him. Obviously, I think that is clear. I think this year is going to be the big question is going to be the offensive line. I think with Talia last year, sometimes holding on to the ball a little bit too long, struggling with his deep ball. I think that's going to be under the microscope a little bit. He's taken strides from the emotional maturity standpoint in terms of just body language and in terms of just staying positive on the sideline in between series, things like that. So that's those are the things that he's kind of continuously improved on. But I think he's a guy that Maryland can win the big games with. I think it's just kind of a matter of just being consistent with his reads, which he made a major jump from 2021 to 2022. Now it's kind of about executing some of those big plays while remaining efficient with the football.
I know you can't read into what's going to happen, but if you had to predict, is his successor on the roster this year, or will it come from somewhere else?
I could see them taking a long look at the portal. I just wouldn't be shocked if by the end of it, by maybe spring ball, you're just kind of looking inside the room and say, hey, let's let Billy and Cam Edge compete for it. I think Cam Edge, he's a guy. I think Billy, for example, like he has a lot of trust. Like what you're getting out of him. He's a dual threat, but he's smart with the football. He's not gonna force anything, and the players trust him. But the players they trust Cam Edge too, and I think he made major strides just from his first year in the program. You got to remember he reclassified up. And that's very uncommon in football.
Yeah.
To skip your senior year. So that first year, we're just kind of getting the playbook, the terminology, all that stuff down. I think he definitely has a chance to maybe be that next guy. Whether it is in 2024 or 2025 remains to be seen. But I do think that Edge will end up starting at Maryland. But I do think that there's a good chance that the starter is on the roster next year. But I definitely won't rule out the portal. I think that they'll even still they'll evaluate, they'll keep their list, they'll have their guys that, hey, if this guy he goes in, we'll kind of see. But we'll see. I also think it'll be interesting to see, just from a sense of I think the offense is established at this point. I think Maryland did a good job. Like, they were able to sell Josh Jackson on what the potential Maryland offense could look like. And then Talia, obviously the relationship was there, and the trust was there between family and Loxley. But I think now it's pretty clear what Loxley's offense do, and you can get an experienced portal quarterback, one of those top guys. Like, I genuinely believe that, those top portal quarterbacks, they're going to command those top NIL dollars. But Maryland has the scheme and the recruiting touch where they're able to at least attract. So I think it's an interesting storyline, but I would not eliminate in-house option.
One last player I wanted to ask you about. I know that they're not particularly highly coveted right now or well paid, is running backs. This running back with Maryland, I mean, I've watched Maryland for a long time. They've always had decent running backs, whether the line's been good enough to help them or not. This Roman Hemby, though, is really something special. And I was kind of shocked last night to look. I said, what year is he? He's just a sophomore.
Yeah.
I mean, is he a guy that could leave very early? I mean, he looked like a man against boys last year. A lot of
Yeah,
times.
I mean, I think I could see him potentially coming back for 2024, but I just also think, just with the mentality of just where running backs are in terms of durability, wear and tear, like I could see him, if he really has another big year and kind of take that next step. I mean, Loxley talked about, him just kind of being able to win some of those one-on-one battles. And I think if Hemby's able to do that, I think it's clear that he has that top end speed, that second gear where he's able to really make the big plays happen on the ground. But if he's able to do that, then yeah, I could very much see him being that next running back, and possibly being the highest draft pick next year in the 2024 draft on this year's roster.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Again, we've been talking with Ahmed Ghafir from InsideTheBlackAndGold.net. $8 a month for subscribers, or $80 for the entire year. That's a nice savings for you. Ahmed, I really appreciate your coming on with us. And when we get near the tip off of the college basketball season, love to get you on again.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on, and I will definitely be seeing you guys around the College Park.
All right. See you
Do a
soon.
great job, man. Thank you.
Appreciate
you,
it. You guys
Ahmed.
have a good night.
All right. Gary, I just wanted to tell you that next week on our show, and you don't have to hang around for this, Ahmed, if you don't want to. You can, but you don't want to. We've got next week on next Thursday night, the 10th, we will have our old sports business buddies on, Andy Dolich and Marty Conway. I got to firm that, got to remind both of them and make sure they're still good with it. Okay.
Yep, you got it. Love that. Love both of those.
And I'll just tell everybody that the Costas Inn, they've been with me for going on, it's got to be close to 30 years now. They've been sponsoring everything I do. Can you imagine how wealthy they'd be without spending all this money on Stan the Fan? Seriously,
what are you talking about? You make them money.
I love that's the way to talk, Gary. Seriously, they've been great friends and supporters of ours at Press Box and prior to Press Box. I mean, God, Nick and Pete's father named a racehorse after me, Stan the Fan. Yeah. And that didn't make them a lot of money, but hopefully these ads do. Seriously, if you're looking for crabs during this summer, make sure you call 410-477. I'm giving my old phone number out, Gary, of on the talk radio.
Keep going.
Yeah. 410-477-1975. Reserve your crabs, both the size, the price point you want, because the days of walking into the Costas Inn or any of the other great crab houses in town, those are over. You got to reserve your crabs in advance. 4100 North Point Boulevard, and they've got tons of other great dishes at the Costas Inn. Go to costasinn.com to check it out. For Gary Stein and our guest Ahmed Ghafir from InsideTheBlackAndGold.net, we appreciate him being on, and we'll see you down the road. I'll be on Monday night with Luke Jackson and Ross Grimsley, And then next Thursday, Gary Stein and I will be joined by the Sport Business Huddle of Marty Conway and Andy Dolich. See you down the road. Bye.
Sounds good. Thank you.